The theme of the presentation tonight is that superior health is in your grasp, and disease is not the inevitable consequence of aging. Disease is something you had to earn through wrong living. And the information, if you put into action tonight, nobody need die of a heart attack anymore. Right now in our country today, we have 52% of our population dying of heart attacks and strokes. 52%, that's more than all the other causes of death combined. With diabetes and cancers and heart disease, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, asthma, allergies, sinus infections. We have constipation, hemorrhoids, diverticulosis. We have one disease after another, the product of nutritional ignorance and nutritional stupidity. And as a result of this most recent scientific information that I've collected from reviewing more than 50,000 medical research studies, culling out the 1,500 that are referenced in my book, Eat to Live, and applying them to make a diet style that's most effective and delicious, will enable people to live 20 to 40 years longer and do away with these diseases that afflict Americans. We all do, together, have an unprecedented opportunity in human history. This opportunity available to all of us. We can live much longer than ever before. We can live without the fear of disease, without the fear of heart attacks hanging over your head like a dagger ready to be released at any minute. You can enjoy your life free of the fear of losing your mental function as you age, free of the fear of having a stroke, free of the fear of getting cancer. 90% of physicians in hospitals could go out of business because the body essentially has built in its own biological code the ability to retain health and restore yourself to health when given the chance through nutritional excellence. So Eat to Live was written to be marketed as a book for people who are overweight wanting to lose weight. Wanting to lose weight in the safest manner possible. A way that will have them be thinner and achieve superior health at the same time. But really, it's not a weight loss book. It's really a book for every person, myself included, who wants to know and wants to achieve health excellence. It's not just for those who are overweight. Why do I eat this way? I'm not overweight. I want to age gracefully, maintain my youthful vigor. I want to be able to be active and play tennis and ski and do sports with my children. I don't want to lose my mental faculties as I age. I don't want to have a heart attack looming over my head. And I want to enjoy eating. I want to enjoy eating as much food as I want. Who wants to carry around a calculator and a scale, measuring out thimble-sized portions of food, worrying about your weight all the time? The point is, when you eat healthfully, your weight takes care of itself, and the weight will just drop off you until you achieve your ideal weight. My Eat to Live program has been studied, extensively studied. Most recently, it was investigated by the University of Southern California, who reviewed the patient records of 200 charts from my office. And they found that the average patient lost 49 pounds and maintained that 49-pound weight loss over a 2-year period. That was more weight loss than any study we've ever done in medical history. So, sure, if you want to lose weight, this is the safest and most effective way to do it. And if you're of normal weight, there has to be held up an ideal way to eat that will afford you the opportunity to live as long as possible, free of the fear of diseases, and to reverse diseases like diabetes and arthritis and allergies and asthma and heart disease if you have it already. Right now, we have the most overweight population in the history of the human race. We have about 70% of our population is overweight and about 30% are obese. Obviously, the heavier you are, the shorter your lifespan. And the thinner you are, the longer you live. One thing that's very solid in today's science is that the thinnest people live the longest. When you're leaner, you have much lower risks of heart disease and lower risks of cancer. But let me start at the beginning here. I mentioned already that over 50% of Americans die of heart attacks and strokes, and about 35% people die of cancer. Nobody need die of a heart attack. we can get rid of all these heart attack deaths. So here's what Americans are eating today to earn these dismal statistics. We have 42% of calories from animal products in the American diet. 42%. 23% of the total, or more than half of the 42%, are dairy products. As animal products increase in a nation's diet or in a population, we see the risks of both cancer and heart disease and stroke go up accordingly. The food element that's most dangerous or most closely linked with heart disease and cancer is saturated fat. The food that contributes more saturated fat to the American diet than any other food are dairy products. Dairy products, an ounce of white meat chicken or white meat turkey might contain a couple of ounces, 2 or 3 ounces of saturated fat. But the same amount of cheese or butter might contain 10 to 20 grams of saturated fat, usually 5 to 10 times as much. There's no contest. Way in, far and above all of the sources of saturated fat, America's love affair with dairy products and our brainwashing by the dairy industry and by the advertising media has distilled into people's minds that drinking milk and eating dairy is health food, and in fact it's the #1 cause of all heart disease and cancers in this country. On top of that, on top of this huge consumption of animal products, highest in almost any country in the world, we also have 51% of calories in the American diet from processed foods. Foods like pasta, white bread, Danish donuts, English muffins, bagels, salad oils, olive oil, canola oil, corn oil, cottonseed oil, mayonnaise, donuts, cookies, crackers, rice cakes, puffed cereals, soft drinks, breakfast bars, chips and pretzels. Those processed foods are mostly what Americans are living on. That's over 50% of the American diet. Just like there is an excellent correlation in more than 15,000 different studies showing as animal products go up in a nation's diet, so do heart disease and cancer. We're seeing the same thing is true with more than 1,500 studies now with processed foods like sugar and white flour and oil. As the processed foods go up, so do both heart disease and cancer. Americans only eat 7% of calories from unrefined plant food. But don't be fooled. Half of that 7% is white potatoes. So it's closer to 3 to 4% of fruits and vegetables, beans and nuts and seeds that Americans eat. Those are the foods with the most powerful levels of antioxidant nutrients, vitamins and minerals, phytochemicals, flavonoids, lignins. In other words, there's no vitamin E, vitamin C, vitamin K, folate. There's no phytochemicals and bioflavonoids and carotenoids in animal products, and there's none in processed foods either. Both animal products and processed foods are low nutrient foods. They don't contain the health supporting nutrients you need to protect yourself against disease. The foods that have those nutrients in them, we'd hardly eat at all. I'll repeat them what they are again. They're vegetables, fruits, beans, and nuts and seeds. We have an epidemic of diabetes in this country. Isn't that astonishing that the average American consumes about 32 teaspoons of sugar a day? And eating these refined grains like pasta and white bread, people have been given false information to think that eating a nice low-fat meal of pasta or white rice is healthy for you. It's not. Those foods are associated with both breast cancer, colon cancer, and stomach cancer. They're also linked, obviously, to diabetes and heart disease. Pasta is not health food. We have to consider when we eat white flour, the body views it much the way it would be if you just ate a bowl of white sugar. There's almost no nutrients to support that food. When we take in calories without nutrients to support it, it has biological effects on our cells, which makes the cells congested. They become unable to keep themselves clean, and disease starts to occur. So refined foods are linked to most of the cancers and heart disease. This is an important slide. It looks at people from around the world in the age group of 55 to 75, where most people die, and looking at what they die of. The red bar represents the people that die of heart disease and cancer and stroke added together. And you can see there's the United States, the second line, way up there. And the blue bar represents the amount of unrefined plant foods. In other words, when you looked at what populations ate by food consumption data put out by the World Health Organization, this slide took me a year to collect the data on every country in the world, what they ate and what the people died of at that age bracket. And we found it made a direct correlation with every single country, that the more unrefined plant food, fruits and vegetables, beans and nuts and seeds those populations ate, we saw both heart disease and cancer and strokes drop down accordingly. So much so that when we cross the 90% line, Americans, don't forget, consume about 3.5 to 4% of calories from fruits and vegetables, beans and nuts and seeds. But there are populations that consume 80 and 90% of those foods, and when we cross those lines, we see essentially heart disease and cancers hardly occur. Does everybody understand this slide? The first one's Hungary, yes, it's spelt wrong, sorry about that. I guess they're very hungry in Hungary. I can't fix it because the guy did the slides for me, like hand wrote it in, so I can't correct it on the computer. When you put an animal in a cage and you let that animal eat all the food it wants, it'll live X amount of years. But if you take that same genetically bred species and you feed it just 70% of what the first animal ate, in other words, you feed it 30% less calories, we find that second group of animals will live 1.5 to 2x. It'll live almost twice as long. The only thing ever proven in science, and I use the word proven very carefully here, the only thing ever proven, which means reproducible in hundreds of studies, and every scientist all over the world who tested this theory, to significantly extend lifespan of all species of animals, is eating less calories in a high nutrient environment. So how can we do that? And could we do that? Could we eat less calories and more nutrients simultaneously? Because this has been shown to increase lifespan and stop the aging process, or significantly slow down the aging process in primates as well. And we're primates. We can see color, we can taste sweet, we have the opposing thumb. We're very much designed like a gorilla or chimpanzee. How can we possibly eat less calories and more nutrients? Wouldn't we need to eat more food and more calories to get more nutrients? The secret is eating more foods that are higher in nutrients. In order to do that, you have to know what foods those are that are high in nutrients. So let me ask you, what food do you think wins the gold medal, the #1 prize for the food richest in nutrients? Vitamin E, C, K, folate, fiber, bioflavonoids, phytochemicals. Which foods give you the most nutrients per calorie on the planet? Does anybody know? Right, the answer is green vegetables. Green vegetables are the foods that are extremely low in calories. They're like taking vitamin pills. So H equals N over C means your health can be predicted by the nutrient per calorie density of your diet. When you eat a diet rich in nutrients, you protect your body from most of the diseases that drive people to doctors' offices. The secret here is to eat lots of food that's high in nutrients and lower in calories. To do that and to apply these principles, we have to know the nutritional density of all foods, so we can try to eat more food that's rich in nutrients, and we can try to eat less food that's lower in nutrients. And that